Hi guys, here we have the Kia Picanto GT. This has only just arrived in Australia. As far as I'm aware, it's been on sale overseas for quite a few months now. But yeah, this is the first time it's been available in Australia. You may have remembered the Picanto GT line that we tested recently, which looks pretty much identical to this. In fact, I think it is identical in terms of the design. The main difference is though, this features a 1 litre turbo 3-cylinder engine compared with the standard 1.25 litre 4-cylinder engine that all other Picantos get. What's the big deal? Well, this engine produces 74 kilowatts and 172 newton meters, which is quite a lot more than the standard engine, which produces only 62 kilowatts and 122 newton meters. Obviously, that we're not talking about, you know, hardcore supercar figures here. This isn't even really a hot hatch. It's more of a city car that's been garnished with some hot hatch personality. In fact, you can't really pitch this against any of the compact hot hatch rivals such as the Renault Clio RS or the Ford Fiesta ST. This is pitched in the class below those. As you can see, the proportions are very small. It looks quite narrow especially, but overall it looks pretty sporty. I like the 16-inch alloy wheels, which are much bigger than the standard 14-inch steel wheels on the regular entry model Picanto S. They're also wrapped in sort of low profile 195/45 tyres, which are quite a lot wider than the 175s on the standard car. Again, this is all the same as the GT line. That gets the same sort of equipment, the same visual impact as the GT line. It's very easy to spot the GT with the red stripe up the side and then the red garnishes within the front intakes there. And then around at the back you've got a sort of sporty diffuser area and twin outlet exhausts. As far as I know, there's no major suspension changes on the GT or even the GT line compared with the rest of the range. I tried to dig through all the specs and the press material. I couldn't find any mention of any different sort of suspension tune. I've even looked at some photos of the underbody of the Picanto S that we tested a couple of years ago and compared them with the underbody of this, and it all looks pretty much identical. I could be wrong, there might be some minor damper changes or settings at least, but yeah, there's nothing major that's different. I guess the handling is enhanced slightly due to the wider tyres and wheels. Let's have a look inside. So again, you've got the red highlights that really sort of enhance the interior and let you know that this isn't the regular model. I'll just start it up and we can get everything going. Just turn the climate and the sound all the way down to make sure you can hear what I'm saying. In terms of space, this is a small car, it's a city car, so you can't expect too much there. But Kia has done well to optimize the space that's available. For example, I've got pretty good headroom actually. It's quite a narrow and tall cabin orientation, which provides good headroom for me. The only sort of complaint that I have, although it's not really a complaint, is just the driving position. The steering wheel is perfect, the seating is nice, exactly where I want to be, my eyesight and everything. Just the pedal placement is a bit too close. Obviously this is a compact car, so there's nowhere else for them to go. But I'm pretty short, I'm only about 170 centimeters, but I'm noticing I'm pretty much level with that B pillar there, and I could actually slide the seat back a bit further for even more comfort. And I'd be, even behind the B pillar, which is very unusual for me. So if you're really tall, I think you might find this pretty cramped. The seat does go a long way back though, so you do have plenty of room there, and then you obviously got that headroom. So it's probably not going to be too bad for a city car anyway. Just the unusual part for me is the sort of, it feels like you're sitting in a bobsled, sort of long and skinny. It's just a little bit unusual compared with a regular or a larger hatch. There's no reach adjustment for the steering column. It only goes up and down. The rake, which could cause a bit of problems for some people. As I said, I'd like the seat to be a bit further back, so I'm actually probably behind that pillar and then be able to pull the steering wheel a bit more forward. But even then, see, my legs are still a little bit bent up. It's not really a major complaint. Every car in this class is going to have some sort of space potential space issue. It's just a little bit unusual from what you might be used to. There is plenty of storage around to put your things. I like these cool little cup holders that sort of spin around, and you can get rid of them to open up sort of like a trough area for various things. And there's a bit of a mobile phone shelf at the top there with your USB charging ports. And down here you've got another sort of cavity, and then a very small center console box that you might want to hide some items away when you're parked. There's also a glove box, obviously, pretty narrow, but you can, yeah, get a few things in there. I like that there is cup holders in the doors as well, or bottle holders in the doors. And yeah, enough room to sort of move about a little bit. If there's a passenger there, you are quite close to them. So I'd imagine if you were two big or large adults sitting here, you'd probably be almost touching shoulders. Again, because of that sort of narrow orientation. So I'll just put the seat back to where I would normally sit if I'm doing some sort of test driving. This is I'd probably have it one click back if I was just pure comfort driving along the highway. And I like to have it a little bit closer when I'm doing sort of sporty driving. But yeah, we'll check out the back seats with that seat setting. There's no red highlights for the seats in the back, although you do get red stitching around various parts. But yeah, that's not too bad actually. The knee room's quite good. I've got a bit of space there, and I've got some room to put my feet under the seat as well if I need to. There's no bottle holder in the door, but you do get a little cavity there, I suppose, for your mobile phone. And there's only one map pocket type thing in the back of the passenger seat for some reason, and not in the driver's seat. But yeah, I'm surprised by the amount of space. Headroom for me is quite nice. My head's not even close to the ceiling, although if you're a bit taller, obviously it would be a bit closer. But for this segment, I think this is, yeah, very well packaged. Kia has thought out this whole design quite well in terms of maximizing the space, but still maintaining its sort of modern exterior design, and added a little bit of sportiness to it as well. There is no climate vent in the back of the center console there, but being such a small cabin, it wouldn't take much for the air to start coming through from the front. If you tried to put 3 people in the back here, it might become a bit of, or actually it would become a bit of an issue, because you'd definitely be squashed up quite a bit. If I'm sitting comfortably, and there's another person sitting comfortably there, there's not much room in the middle, although you can actually sit the person in the middle if you really have to. The floor is relatively flat. There's just a little bit of a step there, but I think that would start taking up some space. You'd have to put your feet sort of down in the sides there, intruding on the side passenger's room. Let's check out the boot. So that you're looking at is 277 litres, which is actually more than you get in the latest Toyota Corolla, which is rated at 217 litres. Obviously the manufacturers do different testing styles, so some only go up to the window, some go beyond the window and all that, so it just really depends. But that's quite a small cavity, but for this vehicle segment it's not too bad at all. You can take the parcel shelf off as well, and obviously push the rear seats down, but there is a bit of a step there, so if you do want to load some larger items in, you've got to get over that step. I don't actually know what's under this. You've got a space saver spare by the looks of it, yeah. Let's take it for a drive and see how it goes. So that engine, well, it's a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo, as I said. They seem to be coming back in fashion, these little 3-cylinder engines. I remember back in the 90s, you used to be able to get a 3-cylinder turbo in some of the Japanese Ki cars or K cars. But yeah, they seem to be making a comeback. In the Kia, the engine is surprisingly torquey. Peak torque is available from just 1500 RPM, according to the specs, although it doesn't quite feel like it's available from quite that low. So if you get real low down in the revs, it does bog down a fair bit. I'll try and show you on a bit of an uphill section, especially when you're taking off from a dead stop. So it bogs right down a bit. But then once you're up sort of past 2,500, it pulls just fine. Obviously, if you bought this car and you were living with it, you'd know that, and you'd be, you know, accommodating for that every time you drive it, so it wouldn't really be a complaint. But again, compared with the market rivals, you're going to get similar sort of, you know, it's going to be this pretty similar story. The gear shift feel is a bit, well, it feels like a bit of a toy car actually. There's no mechanical feel to it really at all, which is not really a bad thing, especially for this market segment, because it's very easy to change gears. Like there's no notchiness. It just feels a bit light and a bit plasticky for me. But yeah, that's hardly a complaint. The clutch pedal is also very nice. It's light, and you always know where the grab point is. As I mentioned, there's no sporty suspension setting for this model, but you do get slightly wider tyres for a bit of extra handling prowess. I'll see how it handles down this little narrow winding road where it should be quite good in a technical situation. I've still got the stability control turned on. I'll turn it off when we go back up the hill, and we'll see what it's like. But yeah, just driving at sort of moderate pace, it feels very agile, obviously. Suspension is a little bit bouncy, a little bit soft, but that's to be expected for a very practical city car, and that's not really designed as a hot hatch. I'll turn the stability control completely off, see if we can get some wheel spin happening. So I'm in second gear. Yep, already started. Yep, bit of inside wheel spin, bit of fun. It definitely goes all right. It's nothing really to complain about in the sort of power department. For me personally, I just like just a tiny bit more power and a bit more response. Like I'm talking 5 kilowatts would just really push it to that sort of next level, I think. But that's not what this car is designed for. It's designed to be a city car that's also quite fun and very economical. It is saying 8.3 litres per 100 kilometers at the moment, but that's because I've been scooting up and down. I'm about to take the car back, and it's averaging about 6 or 6.5 even. But I think regular sort of general use, you'd see that drop pretty easily. The official rating is 4.8. I'm not sure if you get that low unless you were spending a lot of time on sort of 80 kilometer an hour sort of highways. 100 kilometers an hour is a little bit probably too fast for it, for absolute efficiency, but yeah, you definitely get it in the mid 5s, no problem. Bit of tugging at the front axle there. You can actually heel and toe. There's sports pedals down below that allow you to do that. But yeah, it hangs on just fine. Like I'm definitely wasn't expecting it to handle quite this good for what type of car this is. I think the best part about it all though is that it is friendly. It's a very playful, approachable car. So you can throw it around a bit and not feel intimidated at all, while still going, you know, pretty quickly. Just come into this downhill section, sort of heel and toe, floor it. Bit of inside wheel spin, back into third gear. I have noticed when you're cruising along, it is only a 5-speed automatic, so when you're cruising at sort of 60 kilometers an hour, you can almost leave it in third gear, and due to the sort of nature of the engine, like even now I'm doing 2000 RPM in third gear, and it's just starting to bog down a little bit. So I'll floor the throttle, just get around this little bend. I'm in third gear, 60 kilometers an hour, or just under, floor the throttle. Nothing, and it just starts to pick up at around 2,500 RPM. Anyway, my point being is that yeah, you can actually use a lower gear than you would normally in a slightly larger car, I guess. It is very interactive to drive though, and because it is so small, you get a good sense of speed. So it feels like you're going much faster than you actually are, which is good because it means you keep your license, but you still get to enjoy or feel like you're enjoying some sporty driving. The brakes are quite good because the car is so light. It doesn't take much to slow the car down at all. It doesn't have the absolute commitment of a proper compact hot hatch like the Renault Clio RS, but again, this is not designed to be like that. So I guess the best piece of advice I can give to you is don't expect this car to be a full-on hot hatch, because that's not what it is, and it's not what it's designed to be. Although it is wearing a GT badge, which is traditionally reserved for the Kia's top-end models, like the Kia Stinger GT. It comes with the big powerful twin-turbo V6 and so on, Brembo brakes. This doesn't come with any of the extra components like that. It just comes with the turbo engine and the sportier wheels. Build quality feels pretty good. There's not too many creaks and rattles, although as I speak I can hear something. It might be just something in the glove box just rattling slightly. But yeah, build quality is otherwise really good. Kia has definitely stepped up the mark in the last 5 or 10 years. There's hardly anything you complain about this interior. There are scratchy plastics used in most areas, but again, this is not a high-end model. It is a very affordable car. There's one complaint that I do have about the materials is down this trough. I might just stop actually. Down in this little trough area, it's just scratchy plastic. It looks like it's got a nice rubber pad there, but it's just plastic. So if you put your phone there, it sort of slides around and makes a bit of a noise. There's more of it down here as well. I don't know how Kia could fix that other than just put a rubber mat there. Obviously that'll bring up the price a little bit. But yeah, when especially if you've got coins or something sitting in there, they really scratch around. But everywhere else, like all this is just scratchy plastic. It's totally fine because it's just what type of car this is. All the touch points feel good. Even the handbrake, it doesn't have plastic. It's sort of like a rubbery, very hard rubber surface. And then the door trims have got this sort of vinyl leather with red stitching. And then, yeah, all the controls, everything, all the buttons feel very nice. That's 6,500 RPM. Second gear does 100 kilometers an hour. Not too bad. Getting up to speed is no problem at all. Once you're up and going, as I said, there is it's a bit of bogging down when you first take off. Sometimes if you dial the revs up, and you know this every time, then you won't have that problem. But getting up to speed is fine. And once you're on the highway, cruising 110 kilometers an hour is at 2,500 RPM. It doesn't sound like the engine's revving too high. 2,500 might be high in a 4-cylinder or even a 6 or 8-cylinder engine, but in this little 3-cylinder, it's just singing along, just cruising. It's just fine. The GT comes with cruise control, as I mentioned, but there's no distance control on this model. But it's good to see that it does have at least cruise control, so you can sit back and relax somewhat. Visibility is great. As I said, it's got a sort of a narrow cabin orientation, but it means there's very tall windows, so I can see straight over the windowsill there and get a good sense of my blind spots. Even through the back, that one there is not too bad. But being such a small car, you can almost use your mirrors, and if the car's sort of not in your mirror, then it's probably right next to you because it's so short. The windscreen is quite sloped. I think that's got a lot to do with the design and how they tried to maximize the space in here. Not really a complaint, just an observation. But it means there is a very long dash, and sometimes, depending on what time of the day it is, you've got a bit of glare from the from the shiny dash panel here. Obviously, you can just not apply so much sort of shiny cleaning product onto it, and it won't be as bad. You do get that 3-cylinder thrum when you're building up through the revs, but when you're cruising along like this, you wouldn't even know that it's a 3-cylinder. It just hums along just like a normal 4-cylinder engine. In fact, I can't even hear it. I can hear more wind noise than I can engine noise. So overall, I think this is a great little car for someone that's looking for a city car that's very economical, but also a little bit sporty. I think it's actually more fun in the city than it is out on the open road. because you can nip around in little streets and things, use the manual transmission to its advantage, and really play around. It feels like you're very active and integral in the driving situation, whereas some city cars can be quite boring and feel slow, whereas this feels fast and exciting almost all of the time. But as a bonus, when you're out on the highway like this, it just cruises like a normal car. Anyway, I will be putting together a full review on the website very soon, and as I said, we'll do our usual 0 to 100 testing and video to go with it. Thanks for watching.